All right, everyone. We are here with another Buzz Slayers interview. Today we have Missy Balsam, and we are talking to you today about Aham Prema, which is a new release that you did. But I also want to get a little glimpse into your background and how it all started for you. Welcome. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you showing up.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looks like a beautiful day. Where are you located? It looks beautiful over there.
I am in Naples, Florida.
Oh, Naples. I've been to Florida in a long time.
Yeah.
Beautiful, very beautiful, very nice. We're here in Las Vegas. It's a little drier,
Okay. Yeah.
but it's also quite a nice day. So before we get into Aham Prema, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you really started, because this track obviously, like I said, is kind of spiritual.
Yeah.
It's chant. What was the correct name for that kind of music? The chant music?
It's called Kirtan.
Kirtan, and it comes out so beautifully. And before we jump into it, I do want to let you know that what I really enjoyed about the song is how you did the kind of callback rhythm with the vocals. So you have the call back and forth, and then it's very layered vocally. So you come through with all these. I think that with this kind of stuff that you do, especially, you really are able to use your vocals as like an instrument. It's themselves, and I love how lush and thick, because you layer them, especially for the callback ones. Those are really layered, 2 or 3 tracks at least. They got to be, right.
Yes.
So that came back really thick and beautiful sounding, and then also you have this kind of, to me, it was kind of like a 90s pop beat type of thing going on, and then you have these organs that create a big gigantic atmosphere for the song too. So there's obviously and so did you produce the song, and did you write the actual music for it as well?
Yeah, so I wrote the chant. So the chant itself is Aham Prema, and that is in Sanskrit. So the language that I'm singing in the mantra is in Sanskrit, which is the ancient language of India. So I didn't actually write Aham Prema. What I did was write the melody to the chant, and I put my own spin on the words. So there's another Sanskrit piece to it, the Om Parama Prema Rupaya Namaha. So that is that's like an ancient sacred chant. But as a kirtan artist, as we're called, I just kind of put my own spin and interpretation on that mantra, created my own melody for it, and then added English lyrics that, for me, kind of encapsulate the feeling of what that chant is about. Let my heart fly open, let my heart be free, because it means I am divine love.
Divine love, yeah. I was actually going to ask you if that's what that means. I am divine love.
Yeah, Aham Prema means I am divine love.
Ah, beautiful.
So of course I added the as a flourish. Oh, I am divine love, just because that's just what came out.
It's a feeling. Yeah,
it's a feeling. It's a feeling, and it's uplifting, and it just feels so good to sing those words. So I actually wrote this chant many, many years ago, in the beginning of my journey as a songwriter and as a kirtan artist. I started taking mantra and writing my own melodies to them, and then again adding my interpretation of English lyrics, kind of melded and mixed with it. So I wrote it a really long time ago, but I created an album of kirtan music back in 2016 called Revealed. But I put 10 songs on that album. And even though I had Aham Prema as a chant, and I'd been performing it and singing it with, and kirtan is performed in community. So it's call and response, as you picked up on.
Right.
It's a spiritual practice. So it's not, necessarily, it's kind of performance, but it's more like a co-formance where the audience is singing with you.
Participate, yeah.
Right. The kirtan singer, leader, leads the chant, and then the congregation, so to speak, or the participants sing it back. So I'd been doing that song. I'd been leading that chant for many, many years in kirtan. But when I made my album, it didn't make the cut, so to speak, not because I didn't love the chant, but because I just, chose those 10 songs that kind of had like a journey to them. But it was always sort of on the back burner. And actually somebody that saw me sang that song with me at a kirtan festival, yoga and kirtan festival that I performed at many years ago, reached out to me and said, if you ever want to record Aham Prema, I would really love you to record that. It's like best chant ever. I love that song. And so I thought, you know what, if it touched him that deeply,
It gave you a push.
It gave me a push to record it. So I just decided to put it out as a single. And the beautiful thing about doing it now is that I'm kind of bringing who I am now in my journey, working with the producer. You asked me if I produced it. So I'm working with a producer here in town named Tim McGeary, and we've been working together for a couple of years now. So I brought him my chant. We co-write songs together too. So we'll get into that. Some of the other songs we co-write, but this one I obviously had it written. So I said, I want you to help me bring this to life. So we did it in his studio, and he put all the beautiful layers and textures into it. And the way that he was able to record it with the layered vocals, he really made it sound like it was recorded at a live kirtan event with multiple voices singing in response. So
it was
I'm
very
really
big.
Yeah,
I was too. It was very alive and breathing. It's very big. I think, the callback effect really does a lot for the song. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. That's the call and response part isn't a kind of an audience or co-singer kind of participant type of thing. That's very interesting. And as soon as you started talking about it, I kind of imagined a live setting, and how much, to me, it would just be so much fun to be participating in something like that, So it must be fun to perform.
It's incredible. I mean, you see it in actually like a lot of concerts, like even rock and roll concerts, like a lot of times the singer will do that with the audience, because there's something that's so, just bringing people together with music, and when the audience sings along, they feel like they're a part of the song. And, with kirtan, it even takes it up to another level because it is a spiritual practice. You're chanting mantras, which have, not to get too woo-woo
like power,
but there are vibrations in the mantras. These are like ancient Sanskrit mantras that raise your vibration singing them, and they open your heart. So it's actually a practice of yoga. It's a practice of yoga called bhakti, or devotional yoga.
Wow. This is way deeper than I thought. I mean,
it's way,
I mean, look, I don't want to sound ignorant or anything, I just didn't know about that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting to me to learn how deep that, that it goes, and it's very interesting also that you kind of started off or, kind of doing that as well. But in between, so originally it was meant to be on that record from 2016 originally, but it didn't
was on the list, and then when I just decided like which songs would actually go on it, for some reason, there wasn't really any rhyme or reason to it other than like the 10 songs that I chose were, I felt like a story. I'm like really old school, like with albums that, they have, like, if you listen to them from start to finish, a lot of people don't do that anymore because
I know it's sad.
Like,
don't get me started.
Play a song and then, it leads to another song. And then even songs by one artist, I think to listen to an album in its entirety from start to finish is almost like an old fashioned thing at this point. But I really took that approach to my album Revealed. It had a journey and an arc to listen to the whole thing. It's like, I called it Revealed. It really is like a personal, it's almost like my diary or my journal set to music, and it takes you on my journey of self-discovery and healing. And so I want to take the listener on that journey with me. And not that Aham Prema isn't a healing song, it is, but I didn't record it at the time. So I'm just really happy to be sharing it now.
So, what I wanted to ask you, aside from that, what got you into just music, being an artist, singing? Did you start off singing when you were like super young, or how did you, what sparked this in you with the musical side of things?
Yeah, I have somewhat of an unconventional journey toward becoming a singer-songwriter and performing and all the things that I've done. Because, I always loved to sing. Like, I just remember loving to sing from the time I was a little girl. Like, I'm going to really date myself here, but when I was like, probably like 4 or 5, and I have a younger brother who's 2 years younger. Like, my parents got us this little microphone, like kind of like I guess back in the day, like before it was karaoke was a big thing, it was like a little mic set. And my brother and I performed I'm a Little Bit Country, I'm a Little Bit Rock and Roll by Donnie and Marie Osmond. Right. So I didn't expect you to even know that song. It's really like I said, I'm super dating myself back to the 70s. But I just, put a mic in front of me. And even from that early age, I just love to get up and sing in front of, like, I performed it in our living room in front of like my whole family.
Yeah.
So, but fast forward, I mean, during my childhood, I was a dancer. I was a ballet dancer. I did jazz and modern. And so I performed doing dance. And then when I got into middle school and high school, I was in musicals in
Uh,
my, so I would perform in musicals, but I didn't have the confidence to be a lead. I just didn't think of myself. You know how we have belief systems about ourselves?
sure.
I didn't think of myself as a singer, so I didn't really have the confidence. I didn't think I could belt. I could definitely, sing on key and in tune.
Yeah.
So I would get like the chorus, like the backup dancer singer role. Like there's
Yeah.
usually in a musical, there's like 4 or 6 girls behind the lead female in a
Yeah.
musical. And I was like always one of those. So
Right.
I loved it. I loved to perform. But after that, I mean, I didn't really have any big designs on singing or performing as a singer. It was really my yoga journey. I started teaching yoga in 2007. And I, along the way in the journey and around about 3 years in, I discovered kirtan music. And a lot of times in yoga classes, it's played as a backdrop in a yoga class. Like you can practice along to this chant music.
Right.
But I went to, a yoga conference and there was a kirtan artist there leading a workshop about kirtan. And it just really it really grabbed me. I was like, I love this. I just latched onto it and I started listening to a lot of kirtan music. So that's really what started me. I was listening to it and I would sing along, because it's call and response, I would get involved in it.
Right.
And then it wasn't until in 2010, I went to a festival, the biggest yoga and kirtan festival. It's called Bhakti Fest. I had taught you that word Bhakti. It means devotion.
Okay.
So Bhakti yoga is the type of yoga that you sing kirtan in. And I went to this festival and I had that kind of lightning bolt moment, aha, where something just hit me and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be a kirtan singer. It came out of nowhere. I was like, I didn't know how to play. So the main instrument in kirtan is a harmonium, like a boxed organ. Like you said, you identify the organs and the chant.
Yeah.
It's like the backdrop. It's like a drone. And so I never learned how to play an instrument. I didn't have any music lessons as a kid. I never had singing lessons. So it was just one of those weird things where I was just like, I'm going to do this.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting, avant-garde kind of a different way, way of coming into it. But if you really think about it, what you told me first before that is that you had the little microphone when you were a kid. You loved performing, you loved singing. And then you were in plays. Sure, you were one of the background singers and dancers, but you were in the choir. You were still singing the notes. You knew you could hit notes. You even if you were a background singer and dancer for different productions, you don't do that unless it's something that you want to do. So it's always been in there. You know what I mean?
It's definitely been in there. I think, music in general. So even though I wasn't even singing professionally or writing songs, music has been a huge, huge part of my life.
Oh yeah. I definitely, when you say the old station wagon, the radio, even when you talked about the little karaoke microphone with the cassette player attached to it, is that the one you took? Because I remember that one. It was it was like a beige and brown one. I remember those. The orange microphone head with the beige and brown things. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't
same one.
But it was probably that. Yeah.
Yeah, but so you started that stuff off, when you were young, and it's always been in you. You did your thing on production.
I was always singing along in the car to the radio. So I have a bank of lyrics. I am like a musical encyclopedia. I mean, I can listen to a song that I haven't heard in, 15 years and the lyrics will just flow out of me. I just remember because they're so ingrained.
Yeah.
From listening to those over and over again.
Yeah.
And, the 80s was my jam. So my music now that I'm kind of venturing into is very heavily influenced, which you picked up on.
Yes. I want to talk about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the new wave stuff, Depeche Mode is my favorite band of all time. The Cure, New Order, all that stuff is that's what my soul craves. It gravitates to that kind of.
Oh my God, I love that so much. So I was going to ask, I was going to get into your musical influences too.
Well,
but well, no, that's fine. I wanted to know that stuff. And I want to get a couple more from you soon too. But I think that I do want to touch on, and just the sheer fact that to me it makes sense. To me, you know, you needed the kirtan to have that was what gave you the extra push. Like that's what gave you the click for the music and the spiritual and the yoga and all that stuff to come together. And for you, it made perfect sense at the right time of your life.
Yeah.
And maybe you didn't even know it was a thing until you went to that big convention and then you saw the kirtan speaker, and you know, then it all connected, and now you are where you're supposed to be. But you've also along the way infused a lot of what you just mentioned, a lot of this 80s pop, you know, alternative pop music into some of your other releases. And I do want to talk about some of that stuff because Move Your Body was amazing. That was an amazing track. And the video was classic too. I mean, you went all out with that stuff. And I found it so cool and so interesting that you have so many kind of variations of music that you write and that you perform. And because you do it all, they're all so if you take a song like Move My Body and you know, Aham Brahma, they're so different. Obviously they're so different.
Yeah, it's like it's the same artist, but you can feel like my energy coming through both, right? And my vocals and what I in the Yes, the staples are there. You still have this kind of staple thing. And I love that you put them all together and you don't create like a different artist for this stuff and a different artist for that stuff and another. I like that you put it all in one category. Well, you should be doing that because that's who you are. And I think that, you know, if you listen to a lot of your stuff, you'll see that there's a lot less. You put yourself out there as an artist, musically, especially, with a lot fewer boundaries than people would be used to. And I think that that's a smart thing to do because you're just being, you know, that for you, and you're not thinking about it though. You're just doing it. That's the thing, is like, you're just being yourself, right? What were you going to? Well, I just appreciate you saying that because, you know, I'm just like a really multifaceted person, I guess you could say. Like there's a lot of these different sides to me. And yes, you know, I teach yoga. That's what I do for a living, right? That's like my day job, so to speak. I've been teaching yoga for a long time and I just absolutely love it. I'm, you know, obviously a deeply spiritual person and I love to help people to feel good and to heal. And so my sharing of my songs is a part of that because I hope that people will feel some sense of empowerment, upliftment, you know, healing from listening to my music and maybe singing along with me, depending on what song it is.
So, all right. So going back to some of the, you know, some of the other stuff. What was the other one? Raise It Up, I think it was another one. Raise It Up, Move My Body, like that stuff was really cool too. And so you brought up a couple of your favorites. Let's go through, and now you might not like this one, but if you can, try and give me, I mean, you kind of like just belted some out there, but what do you think would be like your absolute top 5 of all time? We can include Depeche Mode. I love me some Depeche Mode, obviously.
Oh my God.
For me, I love like Tears for Fears, Depeche Mode, bands like that.
Tears for Fears is one of the top also. You just nailed it. So like top five bands.
Yeah. Or
so
artist
hard.
Bands. Yeah.
Oh my God. So hard.
Yeah.
I might have to go to 10, but I'll try to go to 5. So
you can give me more. Yeah.
All right. Well, Depeche Mode, I feel like is in a class of its own because I mean, I can't even express. I mean, you get it. You love Depeche Mode's music. There's just so much depth and so much richness and so much like the lyrics and the vibe. I mean, talk about a vibe, right? I mean, there's like, you know, dark, there's like moody, but there's like, you know, I mean, there's definitely like the dark stuff. I definitely gravitate, even though I'm like uplifting, spiritual. I have that side of me, like from my teenage years. Like that was like what I was listening to in my teenage angsty, like longing, yearning. Like Depeche Mode has all of that in it, you know? And so
sure does.
That just, I don't know. I mean, that was just the soundtrack of like my teenage years, and it still is. I mean, that's my go-to, what I listen to out of anything.
And I'm the same way. I grew up with a lot of that stuff in my younger years also. And, you know, that was the soundtrack for a lot of different parts of my life too. And, you know, if I think about it, those are the kinds of bands that you as well. But I also kept going back to, but you can re-fall in love with records by bands like Depeche Mode. So
I mean, it's timeless. I mean, it holds up. It's just, I mean, the layers and the textures and like, and that's what I'm trying to, you know, I'm so heavily influenced by that. And like Tim you know, he's a lot older than me, but he like played it. He was in that 80s like scene in New York, and he opened for some of these like new wave bands, and he really gets it. And he and I
Yeah.
are so aligned with our musicality and like what we want to bring to music. So I'm just like, I'm so blessed that I get to work with Tim. It's just
Now
amazing.
let me jump in real quick. Sorry, let me jump in. It's just a quick one. So did Tim also produce like Move My Body and Raise It Up and stuff like that? If he did,
Yes.
okay,
So
that
the
makes a lot of
album,
sense then.
so when I started my journey, the album that I put out in 2016 was produced by this guy named Jesus Martinez, who's also a very talented musician, was fronting a roots reggae band here in town, and was starting out like working with different artists and producing. And he didn't really have a kirtan background either, but he produced something. I don't know if you heard the songs on that album, but there's a reggae song on my album called Reggae
Mhm.
Ma. And he produced, I mean, he put that whole thing together in such an incredible way. So there's such a vibe with that he put his own flavor and influence on that too. So I wanted to give a
Yeah.
little shout out to Jesus. But after that, I mean, there was a hiatus. I mean, I didn't put anything out until I met Tim. I think in 22, we started working together and writing together. So
Okay.
the first song we put out, so we've done a several, I think a handful, like four or five singles now together. Anyway, the first one was Burn. I'm
Mhm.
sorry,
Oh
we
yeah,
got
okay.
sidetracked from the favorite bands. We'll have to
No, it's
circle
okay.
back.
That's my fault. I was just curious to
We'll
see if
circle back
he
to that.
produced your other stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he since revealed, I've been working with Tim on all of my music. So starting with Burn was the first single, which
Mhm.
also is, there's no Sanskrit in it, but it's a very spiritual song. It's Let It Burn, Let
Mhm.
It Burn. Did you listen to that one?
I did one. Yeah, I heard Burn. Yep.
So that's kind of like a mantra also, like
It
let it,
is.
I mean, it's an English mantra, but it's also empowering about just like letting go of your stuff from the past and just kind of break on through to
Yeah.
the other side kind of thing. And then the second one we did after Burn was Now or Move My Body. I can't even remember the order now. So we did Move My Body, Now,
Raise It Up.
Raise It Up. So those are like four just like more indie kind of 80s vibe.
Let's go back to the bands because I'm definitely still curious about that. And thank you for answering that question. I'm sorry I jumped in.
No.
Because the way you explained it, you're like, oh yeah, because Tim was, opened up for a lot of the new wave, and then immediately I was like, oh, so he must have also produced Raise It Up, Move My Body, and stuff like that.
Yes.
Which makes a lot of sense to me. Now that you said that, I clicked and I was like, okay, he must have been. But I wanted to be sure. In terms of your favorite stuff, obviously Depeche Mode, we're not even going to count that as number one. Depeche Mode is,
thank you.
because you're not doing that. You're Depeche Mode is like its own universe.
It's its own universe. Yeah.
It's Depeche Mode flows through your veins. It's just part of you.
Flows through my veins. It's like in the fabric of my being. Okay.
Okay. Who else do we got?
Every cell is like Martin and Dave like in there. Okay. So I love The Cure.
Yes.
Big time.
I love The Cure as well.
Probably number 2.
Really?
Yeah. I love The Cure. Tears for Fears you mentioned.
Those are really, and that's interesting too, because it gives kind of like a little bit of an insight of, not only, youth and teenage years and things like that, but the things that, you were listening to during those time periods. And it's kind of funny how you can listen to a band like Tears for Fears, or you can listen to a band like Depeche Mode or The Cure or whatever, and you can be immediately kind of taken back.
Do you know Peter Murphy's music?
Peter Murphy, yeah. What's that one song? Cut Like a Knife song?
Cuts You Up.
Is that what is it called? No,
Cuts You Up.
I forget.
And I'll
the
Fall
name
With Your Knife. You actually combine.
I'll fall. That's the one. I'll Fall With Your Knife. My
That's
wife.
my favorite Peter Murphy song.
That's my wife's favorite Peter Murphy song as well. And here's the thing: if you connect the dots, right, all of your biggest influences musically, they all have that same kind of passion vocally. They all have a little bit of moodiness, a little bit of dark moodiness.
I know.
They're a little. No, that's cool. Listen, man, look, that's what that music was all about. It was when you're in a certain mood, or when you're a certain age, and you have that little bit of angst, or you have that little bit of sadness, or you have that whatever it is. That music was made so that you could connect with it, and so that you didn't feel alone. And so whatever you were going through, you kind of went, all right, well, this dude gets it. Michael Hutchins gets it. If I can,
Big time.
big, and like those are the kinds of things that, like, so I see that connectiveness through your stuff,
For sure. I'm not
I'm
totally
gonna,
all dark. Like
I
one more
know.
band came to me. So I just wanted to mention, props to Erasure, which also shares a
Erasure.
history with Depeche Mode, because Vince Clarke, do you know the history of like,
No.
okay, so Vince Clarke was one of the founders of Depeche Mode. And he
Okay.
was only on it for the first album, and then he left and formed Yaz with Alison Moyet. Remember Yaz, Upstairs at
No.
Eric's?
No.
Yaz, Situation. You got to look up Yaz,
Okay.
Y-A-Z. Okay, so he formed Yaz. They only put out a couple of albums, and then he formed Erasure with Andy Bell. So he's
Right.
the common link. So Erasure is like more like poppy, dancey, but like very still rooted in that electronic
Yeah.
sound. But when I'm more like, wanting just something like fun and dancey and uplifting, Erasure, there's still a little bit of dark, like there's like
Yeah.
angsty, like the Andy Bell is the lead vocalist, and his vocals are really passionate, really intense, but
Mhm.
I feel that music really deeply. So Erasure is definitely one of my favorites also. You have to check them out.
Wow, this is incredible. I would have honestly not thought,
Yeah.
and it's really fun to hear this kind of stuff, because it's like, now I can go back to certain stuff and see if I can pick up on any of that. That's the fun of it for me.
Oh yeah.
Is, going back to be like, oh, all right, well, is there a little bit of Depeche Mode melodies in there, or
You're gonna recognize it. You're gonna feel it. I mean, Erasure. Definitely check out Erasure's music, and Yaz. I mean, it's definitely that early '80s sound. Erasure did many more albums throughout the '90s, and even they're still making music and touring. But it's
I
so
don't
good. Little
remember.
did you know we were gonna go into this from a
No,
haunted.
it's funny too, because I was sitting here. You're telling me about the common link between all those three projects, and I'm going, not only do I not even know about one of these bands, but you're telling me the common thread between them. I'm sitting there, you're going off on this thing, and I'm sitting here going, she should be teaching like a musicology class, so kind
Oh
of
my
music
God.
history class. How much fun would that be?
I would love it. I mean, I'm so passionate about it. I mean, yeah, I could go on and on and on.
So those are all very interesting influences, man. Wow.
Mm.
So what's coming after this? Have you talked to Tim about working on new songs yet, or anything? What's next for you?
Yeah, so we actually have another one pretty much ready to go. So
Really?
I have another, yeah, so we'll have to get together and do another interview.
Is it recorded?
Yeah, it's like pretty much done. Like I'm gonna meet with him on Thursday, and we're just maybe doing like little teeny tweakies, but it's pretty much done. I'm always like, I'm very like, I drive him crazy because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and like, there might be like one little thing that bothers me, and I'm like, can you just do this or add a little bit more this or take that away or just change the vocal right here? I mean, but it's pretty much done. We worked on it. We've just had it kind of ready. I had a hum prima. I was working on that for a while too, and I just waited to put it out. It just had to be the right time before I just kind of like birthed it, to the world. And so this next one will probably come out. I mean, I'll probably put it out maybe next month in February or March.
And what's the vibe of the new one? Is it kirtan
Kind of
still, or?
similar. No, it's similar to the Burn and Raise It Up, and and a little bit of, kind of like a mishmash of all of the sounds that Tim and I are the co-writes that we do. So we write the lyrics together. And this one is called Embrace the Day. And it's another kind of like uplifting. I mean, just even in the title, you can tell that it's an uplifting message. It's kind of in the same vein as Burn in terms of like, dark flows into light, night flows into day. So if you're in a dark place or a dark period, like embrace the day. The day is coming around, and you don't have to hold on to being, that it's always going to shift into light.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with how this one turned out too. So we'll have to get together again and talk about
this is
that one.
great.
I think now that now that you and I have spoken and you've gotten to know me and kind of my influences, I think you'll really enjoy this next single we're putting out as well.
Well, I enjoy a lot of your stuff. I mean, and I'm glad to hear, and I love the kirtan stuff too, but I'm glad to hear this is going to be, you know, a raise it up kind of song, a burn kind of song, because I love that stuff too. That's just
Yeah.
more my vibe, just more my style,
Yeah. Yeah.
I connected with the
Understandable.
kirtan stuff. Like I said, I got invigorated by it, but in a different way. I like you grew up in the same time period,
Hmm.
and so Move My Body and Raise It Up and stuff like that was like, those were like my jams. I was like, whoa. And I didn't really know anything, Aha Perma was the first song, so I didn't know. And then all of a sudden I heard like Move My Body. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was
And
like,
you were like,
what? And then I heard Raise It Up and I was like, what? I was like, this is nuts. So it was really cool to like hear all these different approaches that you're doing. So I like that you go back and forth. And I think that you do that just depending on where you are in your life and how you're feeling and what you feel like you want to express and put out there. So just keep doing what you're doing. What's this new
yeah,
one called again?
it's called Embrace the Day.
Embrace the Day, right? Embrace the Day. So Embrace the Day, hopefully
Yeah.
next month. So we'll look out for that next month.
Yeah.
Is out now, obviously.
Prima is out.
Yeah, everyone can go check out your whole catalog of stuff on Spotify. But if you go to YouTube, you can see videos for some of the stuff too. Like Move My Body's got a great video. I think Raise It Up has a video as well.
I didn't do one. You know what? I did make a video for Raise It Up and I didn't put it out because I just, I get in my own way. Like I'm like, oh, it's not perfect. It's not like exactly the way I wanted it. So I finished it and then I didn't even put it on YouTube, which is really dumb, honestly.
Put it up. Do it now.
I should, even though
just do it. Don't even worry about it.
And then
Who cares?
I'd like to put a lyric video up for a Ham Prema just to have like the words on the screen so people can sing along to that. I haven't done that yet, but I'm intending to do a lyric video for a Ham Prema. And Now has a really great video. Did you watch the video for Now? It's like a black and white.
That's the one I saw then. I thought that was Raise It Up for a minute, but no, it was a different one. Yeah.
So Now, has
Pieced
that
together from old clips. Yeah. That was a cool one too.
Vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling like kind of lonely and disconnected, being in a big city and feeling like on your own.
That's from, like you mentioned, spending some of your time in New York.
Yeah.
Is that what that's from?
That is where it's from. I mean, that was the feeling I was attaching to. The lyrics of Now are about feeling like this moment in a relationship where you feel disconnected and you feel like in a panic, like, oh my God, like I'm supposed to be feeling connected to you. And this feels so scary. It's like that, like, are we going to get it back? And are we going to get back in alignment? And, I just feeling so like alone in this moment, and I want to get back. I need to hear you say you love me. It's like this feeling of vulnerability. And so I wanted to kind of evoke that sort of feeling of like isolation and, longing. And to me,
definitely a vulnerable sentiment.
Yeah, that was a vulnerable song. It's an artist, I mean, I'm really like, I put, like you said, I'm putting all of myself and, into my music and my lyrics and what I'm writing about and what I'm expressing. So it's,
it's okay. It's good to be vulnerable, when you're an artist, all the artists you mentioned were super vulnerable. All of them. You grew up on vulnerable songs, dude. I mean, that's what they, so, I mean, that's going to be a part of it, but I definitely liked that video and I like to Move My Body video. So I agree with I think you should put up the video that you did for Raise It Up. Just do it. Let it go.
Raise It Up is like, that song is about like, just being so happy and celebrating the love that I found,
Yeah. That was a very positive song for sure.
That's a positive one. Yeah. That one doesn't have, I mean, like the music has like a little bit of like that.
It's edgy
element, but edgy, but the lyrics are, that I want to celebrate. Like raising it up, like.
Yeah, very positive. Yeah, no, the vibes come through really well. You can get, I do like the edginess too, though. I mean, that shows some of those influences in there. So, but yeah, so we'll look out for the new one. And all the other stuff is on. You can watch some of the videos on YouTube. You can listen to all the stuff on Spotify. And
they're out on everything: Amazon Music, iTunes, Apple Music, everything.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you taking the time. This is awesome.
Well, it was so much fun to talk to you, Gabriel. Thank you.
You too. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.